Okay, good evening, everyone, and I would now like to formally open the meeting. We do have a large agenda this evening, so I would be grateful if all contributions can be concise and to the point on the topic for debate, and that various time limits for speeches are respected. Before moving on to the formal agenda, can I clarify that all items, apart from the approval of the minutes, where a vote is required to be taken, this will be taken using the electronic voting devices. Okay, we'll start with item 1 on the agenda, apologies for absence. Are there any apologies for absence? Okay, Councillor Rowley.
Thank you, Chair. We've got apologies on the Conservative side for Councillors Currell, Smith-Haynes, Prentice, Bell, Edwards, Tebbit, North, Lavelle and Watt.
Okay. Any other apologies? Councillor Hakewill.
Sorry, I did press the button. Councillor Sarah Tubbs is absent and gives an apology, and Councillor Emily Fedorovich is running late due to something happening with our highways. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Armour, please.
Thank you, Chair. We have apologies from the Labour Group, from Councillors Pengelly, Riley, Sims, Anslow and Councillor Zoe McGee will be slightly late.
Okay, thank you. Ben, are there any other apologies?
No, thank you, Chair. All apologies have been covered.
Okay, well, thank you. Okay, if we move on to agenda item 2, minutes of the meeting of the 31st of August. Are there any issues in relation to the accuracy of those minutes, please? Okay, I'd like to move the minutes of the annual council meeting held on, I don't think it was the annual one, held on the 31st of August. May I please see a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Lorman. May I please see those in favour? Thank you. Those against? Those abstaining? Thank you. That's unanimous. Item 3, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest that councillors wish to make related to any item to be discussed? All right. I see no hands.
Councillor Dell.
Sorry?
Councillor Dell.
Okay. Councillor Dell?
Thank you, Chair. On motion 2, I'm a member of the Friends of Kitchen Art Gallery and Museum and sit on the committee.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, Councillor Marks?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm also a member of the Kettering Friends of the Art Gallery and Museum, but I'm not on the executive of that body.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Watts?
Thank you, Chair. I'm also a member of that group, but not on the executive.
Okay, thank you. Any other declarations? Okay, thank you. Item 4 is Chair's announcements. I'd like to welcome members of the public here to the meeting tonight, including those making statements, those in the public gallery, as well as those watching online at home. Please may I remind those in the public gallery, for your own safety, please remain seated and only stand when walking to your seat or on exiting the gallery. I would like to say that both the Vice Chairman and I have been busy with civic engagements over the last few weeks. It's been a privilege to meet recipients of the Rose of the Shire Awards, and I'm pleased to meet those and present the awards. I've been privileged to meet with Northamptonshire Community Foundation, and I've invited Rachel McGrath, Chief Executive of Northamptonshire Community Foundation, to provide a brief presentation to you. The foundation is a charity giving back to the county by providing access to funding for the community-based action to improve the lives of our Northamptonshire's most disadvantaged people and communities. So I will pass to Rachel to give her presentation.
Good evening, everybody. It's lovely to join you, and I've been given very strict instructions to let my presentation, thank you very much, be under 10 minutes, and I appreciate you have a busy agenda, so thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your time. Northamptonshire Community Foundation is a grant-making charity. We believe in place-based philanthropy. We're part of a broader network, the UK Community Foundation Network, but there's actually 2,000 community foundations across the globe. We are part of the Open and Trusting grant-making network to ensure that we have open and fair funding. We are registered with a fundraising regulator. We are part of a 360-degree open platform, so all of the grants that we make are open and transparent and readable to the general public. And as part of a network of now 48 community foundations, Jersey Community Foundation being the newest, we, during the pandemic, helped deliver £76 million of National Emergencies Trust funding, and at the local level, we delivered £2.6 million to Northamptonshire's frontline community groups and civil society organisations. Collectively, as a network, we distributed £190 million in grants. Overall, since our inception as a network of community foundations for the UK, we've distributed £1 billion. Collectively, we are the fourth largest grant maker in the UK. We also work with a number of organisations and agencies. We're partners with the National Emergencies Trust. We have an emergency preparedness plan in place. Were there ever to be another similar pandemic or a local emergency, we are ready to raise funds and get them out quickly to support our residents. We manage funds on behalf of national government and local government, including the Department for Digital Culture, Media and Support, organisations like the London Marathon Charitable Trust, and we work also to support the work of the National Community Lottery Fund as well through Big Local Trust. We've been here for 22 years. We intend to stay here forever. We are building an endowment so that we have permanent community asset for Northamptonshire for the next generation for problems we cannot yet foresee. We give out on average £2.5 million in grant awards. We work with private, public and corporate donors. We reach hundreds of smaller, under-the-radar grassroots groups who are our very heart and front line of our civil society within our great county. We provide advice, support and resources to help those organisations on their journey as they make a difference. We research and publish reports on Northamptonshire's needs to ensure that we're led by data and knowledge. So in terms of our overall guide to giving, we have a Good to Give guide on our website. You'll have seen the Northamptonshire Hidden Needs report, which was popped outside, and I'll speak a little bit about that later. We also resurrected this year the Rose of the Shire Awards in partnership with Your Great Council and West Northamptonshire Council to make sure that our unsung heroes and community champions get the recognition that they deserve to help build civic pride within our communities, particularly during challenging times. We also are very committed to ensuring that we have community-advised grants panels. All of our small and community grants panels, beyond our trustees and staff, are supported by a network of volunteers who care about our local communities and bring knowledge and expertise, care and passion to the table. We work in partnership with the University of Northampton to intermittently research and publish a hidden needs report highlighting priority needs across the county. We have conversations with a range of donors, a range of organisations and partners to see how we can work together to pool resources, to collaborate and make a difference on our doorstep through our frontline community groups and charities. We also use a local insights platform, so we print regular reports on varying issues, whether that be child poverty, whether that be around fuel poverty, whether that be around health and wellbeing. The data we use is also utilised by the community groups and charities that we fund, so that they can apply to other funders and bring resources into the county, and they can help back up the work that they're doing to make a difference. We also demonstrate the difference for our donors through impact reporting. So we support community groups and charities to be able to write and develop impact reports to show that they are making a difference through case studies and through also other methods. And we also publish an annual impact report to show the broader difference that our community groups and charities make. We also conduct a community needs annual survey, and most recent one from feedback from the community groups and charities that we fund on behalf of our very generous donors shows that there's concern around the impact of the pandemic on emotional and mental well-being. I'll just highlight a few: increased social isolation and loneliness, diminished value of grants through inflation, and also need for longer-term sustainable funding. We also develop community conversations that are broadly based around the global goals. Think Global, Act Local. Local is goal 5 of our overall 5-year strategy, to discuss what's concerning people and how we can work together for the betterment of our local communities, utilising local resources. We currently support and manage an element of the Household Support Fund in its 4th phase on behalf of the Department of Work and Pensions via West Northamptonshire Council. We work with charitable trusts. A local example is the Horner Foundation. Alongside charitable trusts, we also look to revitalise trusts through trust transfers, working with the Charity Commission to make sure that we can get funds out into the community. We work with professional advisors to help release unclaimed client funds back out into the community. We work with corporate donors and private donors. Crazy Hats on the left, supporting women living with breast cancer. Bambino Mio, a local company that is helping tackle family poverty. We're also partnering with the Cork Corby Cube here and the Royal and Derngate to ensure that during a very tricky time upcoming to the festive season, that we can ensure that we can give free pantomime tickets away to families that might be struggling financially, so families together can experience those magical moments at Christmas. We are currently running a match fund challenge to shine a spotlight on rural community needs, thanks to the generous match fund donation of the Constance Travis Charitable Trust. And we're doing that with the support and endorsement of Northamptonshire Acre, the Prince's Countryside Fund, Rural Services Network, Young Farmers, and also the Lord Lieutenant's Office. We're also supporting and tackling the cost of living crisis and raising funds for groups at the front line of helping people who are struggling financially, particularly vulnerable residents. We also supported a Welcome Fund appeal. So this is just very quickly to show you about our global network. I'm on a WhatsApp group with 33 Ukrainian community foundations. So when those who chose to flee the invasion came to Northamptonshire, we had a Welcome Fund appeal ready to go for groups and organisations that supported resettlement in our community. And a thank you to the Wilson Foundation, Archways Real Estate, Voluntary Impact Northamptonshire for supporting that. And this is some photographs of Victoria Centre in Wellingborough, who supported some of that resettlement and is an example of one of the groups that we funded. We believe in thinking global, but doing what you can on your doorstep. This is Northampton's Litter Wombles, who support the UN SDG goal around climate action and by helping keep our county clean and green. And also, we support key organisations such as the Kids Aid Foundation, which supports young people who have experienced trauma through therapeutic services and supports. We know that our community organisations were on the front line when it came to the pandemic, so we do our best to make sure that they have the resources that they need to make a difference at their neighbourhood. We build philanthropy, we support and increase giving across our great county, we look to enrich and deepen connections across our communities, we champion our brilliant charities such as the Rose of the Shire Awards, and we think global but we act here on our doorstep to make a difference. We support equity, diversity and inclusion. We manage a fund on behalf of Avon locally. And I just want to say a thank you for listening, and I think I came under 10 minutes.
Brilliant. Thank you, Rachel, for that very interesting and informative presentation. I hope you all found the wide-ranging sort of opportunities that Northamptonshire Community Forum offers of interest, and you'll bear that in mind when you're out with your constituency. Okay. Well, it's now my sad duty to express my condolences at hearing that Councillor Willie Latter, who was an alderman of Corby and served the borough as a councillor for 26 years, has passed away. He retired at the last election and was very respected across Corby. I know that Councillor Keane would like to say a few words in tribute, and perhaps other councillors who knew him. So can I pass to Councillor Keane, please?
Thank you, Chair. Willie Latter was a hard-working and much respected councillor who was elected to Corby Borough Council in 1995 for the West Ward. He then moved to represent Rowlett Ward, where he remained until his retirement in 2021. He was Mayor of Corby in 2002 to 2003 and was made an Alderman of Corby in March 2021. Many of you might know him as the long-standing chair of the Corby Planning Committee, which oversaw the town centre regeneration project from the Cube, the swimming pool, to Priors Hall. This was something that he was very proud of, and he did a fantastic job. He served his community for 26 years. I remember him visiting my school when he was mayor. He was also a really good mentor to me when I was elected in 2015. He had lots of years of knowledge and was really easy to get along with. Our politics were very close as well. I really enjoyed discussing it with him. His knowledge of Corby and its history. He sat next to me at one of the last in-person meetings of Corby Borough, and in the middle of the meeting gifted me a pledge card from the 1997 general election. He used to carry that with him everywhere. He was a true gentleman. He is, well and truly going to be deeply missed by everyone who knew him, and I would like to pass on my condolences to his wife Lily, his children Billy and Susan, and his grandchildren Craig and Gemma, and great-grandchild Autumn. I'd like you, if you could kindly invite other councillors to make tributes, that would be fine.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I didn't catch what he said.
He said, do you want to invite others?
Sorry?
Would you like to invite others to make any comments?
Yeah. Well, are there any others who would like to speak? Okay. Okay. Councillor Smithers.
Thank you, Chair. And just a quick, we pass our condolences on from this side for your loss. He sounds like he was an absolute amazing chap. From the email that you sent me earlier, Councillor Keane, and our condolences for your loss. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Addison.
Thank you, Chair. Willie and I were both councillors for Rowlett Ward. He was a true gentleman and had high integrity, and he will be really sadly missed. He did a lot for Corby, as Matt has already said. And again, I'd like to send condolences to his family. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well, thank you for that. We'll move on to agenda item 5, leaders' announcements. Can I please see the leader of the council to make any announcements?
Thank you, Chair, and good evening to you and good evening, colleagues. So on behalf of the Conservative members of North Northamptonshire Council, I can confirm that we treat all members of the community equally and without bias. In June, Councillor Lell posted a tweet following which the Council's monitoring officer received complaints of breaches of the Code of Conduct, the Councillor's Code of Conduct, I'm hasten to add. As leader of the Conservative Party, I took swift action pending determination of the complaint and due process. The complaint process is now complete, and I would therefore like to invite Councillor Lell to address this Council.
Right. Thank you, Leader. On the 29th of June, I posted a tweet which I understand some people were offended by. The tweet was an expression of my Christian faith by quoting passages from the Bible. As a councillor...
Excuse me, can I just interrupt? Can I ask councillors to sit while there is a statement being made?
You don't stand up when you're speaking. Yes.
They can stand if they want to stand.
Councillors, you can hear clearly Councillor Lell is speaking through the microphone. It is intimidating behaviour to be standing when somebody is apologising, when they're making a statement. We're trying to have good debate. We're trying to increase standards in this chamber. Please, can you sit down and listen to Councillor Lell?
I mean, I'm not intimidated, but I'll continue if I may, Chair.
Yes, please continue.
Where was I? The tweet was an expression of my Christian faith by quoting passages from the Bible. As a councillor, I act equally for the residents of the areas in which I am elected in all areas of debate and discussion. I represent all members of my constituency without fear or favour and undertake my role as a councillor with impartiality and without bias. My intention in posting the tweet was not to cause harassment, alarm or distress to any person or persons. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to item 6 on the agenda. There are no public statements being received for this meeting. So public questions. One public question has been received on this occasion. A copy of the question and answer has been circulated. Please may I request that the questioner read out their question as submitted. You will then receive a response. You are invited to ask a supplementary question based upon the response provided. Please ensure it is a question and not a statement. You will then be provided with a response to your supplementary question and, where necessary, a written response after the meeting. May I please see Mr. Chris Ashton to ask his question?
Hi, good evening. Thanks for having me. I was just wondering if the council would be prepared to administer a recall petition after the results of yesterday's parliamentary vote, and if so, will the council publish guidance on the rules and conduct of a recall petition to assist local electors?
Thank you. May I please see Dell Wiley as the council's petition officer to respond?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Following notification from the Speaker of the House of Commons, the Electoral Services team has put in arrangements to deliver a recall petition. The Council is well prepared to administer urgent matters such as recall petitions. The Council's website will have information about the petition and how registered electors can sign it within the Wellingborough constituency. In addition, registered electors will receive a notice of petition. This is much like a poll card in a usual election, to ensure that they know how and where to sign the petition should they wish to do so.
Okay. Mr. Ashton, do you have any supplementary question?
Yes, I was just wondering what the time frame would be on getting the poll cards out, or not poll cards, but
Okay.
Thank you. So the notices of petition, much like the poll cards, will be sent out on or around the 3rd of November.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ashton, for your question, and to Adele for your response. Petitions. There are no petitions received on this occasion. We'll move on to agenda item 7, executive presentations. I understand there are no executive presentations for this meeting. Okay, move on. Agenda item 8 is motions presented to the Council at our meeting on the 31st of August 2023 and the conclusion of that debate. This item will be to conclude the debate on the motion proposed by Councillor Valerie Anslow and seconded by Councillor Lynn Buckingham at the meeting of Council held on the 31st of August 2023 and was adjourned following the meeting reaching the guillotine. The following members have already spoken during the debate and will not be able to speak again. That is Councillor Buckingham, a seconder. She did not reserve her right to speak. Also, Councillor John McGee. Councillor Mark Rowley, the guillotine dropped whilst you were speaking. You have 30 seconds left if you wish to conclude your comments. The following members also indicated their wish to speak on the 31st of August. They were Councillor Kevin Watt, Councillor David Brackenbury and Councillor Dorothy Maxwell. If those 4 members wish to speak on the motion, can you please press your request to speak buttons now? Okay, no Councillor. Councillor Rowley, would you like to make your comment?
Thank you, Chair. I'll be very quick. Although I understand and appreciate the sentiments of the motion, I'm afraid I can't support it because there's quite a few inaccuracies and we're actually doing a lot of the work already and coming to fruition, as I said in the statement last time.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Maxwell.
I equally can't support this motion because, in fact, statistics in the Spectator state that North Northants Council is the 4th highest council to actually put new homes in the country, 1,960. Last week, we actually passed 2 planning applications in Rushdom, which will contribute to this number. We are very aware of houses which are needed, and we are doing everything we can to make sure it happens. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Brackenbury.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I completely understand the sentiments behind this motion. Of course I do. And we do need to always take into consideration affordable housing and trying to make sure that the backlog of any such applicants is at a minimal level. And indeed, unlike the wording in the motion, in fact, the backlog is not in fact growing to an unacceptable level. It's been declining, as I think has already been pointed out. While, as I say, we do support the sentiments behind this motion, we have to consider the economic realities we are in We do have a sort of policy for building and for trying to support homelessness and for vulnerable people in delivering social housing. But in the council's budget, we haven't got unlimited funds with which to build large quantities of social housing. So what we have committed already is obviously what we will try to do, but we haven't really got the ability to vastly increase the provision of social housing. And so while I do welcome the sentiments behind this motion, I'm afraid I cannot support it. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Matt Binley.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I too echo my colleagues' comments. I do think that it's absolutely right that this is something that we as a council consider, but this is something that we are actually doing. A strategy is actually being devised at the moment. The right to buy receipts, there is no risk of those being lost. And I do also remind members that right to buy receipts don't just have to be used on building new houses. They can actually be used on a number of different aspects within our social housing stock, such as, for example, improving that social housing stock. And it can also be provided also to other registered housing associations for them to build additional homes. So there are a number of ways. Also, I would just like to again echo Councillor Rowley's comments in that, and also Councillor Brackenbury's comments. Keyways is not building as a backlog. We got the backlog down as the motion mentions, and that hasn't come back up. I think there's some time frame mentioned there about huge waiting lists. That's not the case. And I also would remind members that as far as our use of temporary accommodation goes, within Northamptonshire, we do actually have a very low figure. We have just over 200 people in temporary accommodation. When you compare this to other local authority areas, we're actually performing very, very well. And why? Why is that? Because we focus on prevention. It's about prevention, not the afterthought, which is when it's too late, when somebody's already homeless. We have a very hard-working team within Northamptonshire who focus on prevention. They work with landlords, they work with housing providers, they work with mortgage companies to prevent people from being made homeless in the first place. That is the answer, not just looking at temporary accommodation, providing more temporary accommodation, or just building social housing. Yes, we need to do that, but it is absolutely a wraparound thing where we've got to look at it holistically. So unfortunately, Madam Chair, I can't support this motion because we're already working on it. It would be a duplication of work.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lell, please.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to correct Councillor Binley there. The backlog is actually the housing needs assessment, which had a backlog of applications for housing needs. The Keyways, the backlog has never come down from Keyways. And in a recent meeting that myself and Councillor Colquhoun had with the Assistant Director of Housing, she actually confirmed that the housing waiting list, I think in Corby alone, is 5,000, and that people on that waiting list, there are some people on that waiting list that will never be housed by this council. So, and that has come from the Assistant Director of Housing. And yes, I think that we do appreciate that some work has been done. There's a development on Cheltenham Road, which is from the former Corby Borough Council, which is due to complete and is going to house veterans and people from the Armed Forces Covenant. I think that's really positive, and it's good to see that there is work now commencing on the Occupation Road Cannock Road, isn't it? Cannock Road development as well. But there clearly is more to do. And one of the things that we need to do as a council is to have a housing strategy. We've been asking for it, Councillor Binley, for 2 years. And it would be nice for us just to have a housing strategy, taking into account Councillor Brackenbury's points about budgets, taking into account backlogs on keyways and backlogs on housing needs assessments. But we need a strategy. What is the point of this council if we do not have a strategy? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Can I just remind speakers that this is your opportunity to stand. It allows everyone to identify who is speaking. So if you speak, would you please stand? Thank you. Councillor Fedorovich, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I do prefer to sit, generally, so I'm a bit closer to my notes, but I'll be up here, if that's all right. Right, so the main thing I was going to say is that the amount of things that we've heard in the room so far is that if this is already happening, accept the motion. Just show the fact that we are here and recognising the fact that this is a problem. Housing and homelessness is a problem. We know this. This is a real big challenge for us as a council. Keyways, the list is not going down. I've got residents waiting 6 months, a year, like more in some cases, and to say that this isn't a problem is balmy, frankly. Councillor Brackenbury mentioned about the fact that we don't have money to build these things ourselves, and that's actually not necessarily what the wording says. It says just we need to have a plan for how these are going to be built. So I don't think we're actually really hemmed in the way that is mentioned there, but we have influence over how that happens, and I think a clear strategy is very much needed. But ultimately, yeah, if this is already happening, then why not show that we all of us as councillors recognise that housing and homelessness is an issue. Sure, the wording probably isn't as neat as I probably would have had it, but it is an issue. We know it. Why not just say, yes, let's put that strategy all together? I'm just putting that out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Leanne Buckingham, please.
So the national housing for temporary accommodation stands at £1.7 billion. Now, I agree that's a national, and you might think that ours is quite low at the moment. We don't know how the future might pan out, especially given the cost of living and the adversity that people are facing right now. Homelessness needs innovative solutions, and we are the custodians of the public purse that is here to solve it. If the plan's in place, why not support the motion? Why does it have to be political? We all want to help our residents, don't we? We just want a strategy. This needs to be specifically focused around strategic partnerships, because Northamptonshire and Northamptonshire as a whole has a lot of development that's going on. We're having a lot of warehouses. We are bringing in 106 money, and we need to be making sure that we can house residents. We also need to be making sure they've got the right jobs as well as homes, but this is about the housing. Northants already partners with house builders. There is nothing to say we couldn't be looking at innovative options. It's a shame it won't be supported.
Thank you. Councillor Cahoon.
Thank you, Chair. Very interesting discussion here, Chair, and some varying viewpoints. Councillor Binley, for example, says, I think he said that the Keyways list is reducing, or Keyways applications? Backlog reducing, sorry. I know from within my own constituency, Chair, that we have a huge increase in Keyways applications. I've had 2 cases quite recently of needy people who have been removed from the Keyways list for whatever reason, and we've had to pursue this matter to get them back onto it. One person has just been put into temporary accommodation this week, in fact. Councillor Binley mentions having to have a holistic approach to the problem, and that's quite correct. You need a holistic approach, but you can't have it if you take it piecemeal. putting people into temporary accommodation, moving people out of their home area, disrupting children's schooling, making it nigh on impossible for parents to get to work, etc. That is very, very far from being a holistic approach to what is a crisis. We do have a housing crisis. No one can deny that. This housing crisis has been going on since the 1980s and exacerbating itself constantly. And this, as we all know, is not for one reason, and it's for one reason only, and that is political choice. It has been to put the local authority housing into the private sector, and that continues. And we are picking up the mess that it's causing. I would urge members to put their party political beliefs aside here and think of the good that we can do for the people of North Northamptonshire Council. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Lee, please. Anne Lee.
Thank you, Chair. Just reminding councillors that there is a scheme in Kettering of 8 adapted housing, social houses that were due to be built. It was on the forward programme and it just slipped off. It just fell off. But it was approved. It was all, they were designed. And now that there is a derelict church that's standing there in the middle of the community, and is just, the building is just not happening. So that was planned and it's just not happening. So we do seem to have the brakes on building, and their adapted properties is really in short supply and we badly need those. So I just wanted to remind you of that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hakewill.
Thank you, Chairman. Perhaps the portfolio holder would like to ask scrutiny to scrutinise this issue and to illuminate to us all. Scrutiny, that'd be an unusual thing, wouldn't it? But maybe that is one of the answers. If you're all going to vote against it, which I'm sure you will, why doesn't the portfolio holder ask for a proper scrutiny on homelessness and the housing situation to illuminate future executive decisions? Thank you.
Thank you. I have no other speakers, so just to confirm, there will be no right of reply on this occasion as the proposer of the motion, Councillor Valerie Anslow, is not present at the meeting. We will now move to the vote. Please use your electronic buttons when once the vote has commenced. You will have 30 seconds. And I believe there is a comment regarding Councillor Brown.
Not necessarily, Councillor Brown. So to all members, as this was carried over from the last meeting, some members won't have been in attendance. So members need to make sure that they're satisfied in voting, that they've heard a sufficient amount of the debate to be able to make an informed decision. So Councillor Brown, you entered the room late, so you also need to make that determination. And any members who weren't at the meeting last time need to ensure that they feel satisfied. Thank you, members.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move to the vote.
The vote is now commencing. There are 10 seconds remaining. The vote has now ended.
Chair, that is 15 votes in favour, 3 abstentions and 43 against.
Sorry, the motion there is lost. Thank you. Agenda item 9, Northamptonshire Corporate Parenting Strategy Annual Report 2022 to 2023. May I please see Councillor Wendy Brackenbury to present and move this report.
Thank you, Chair.
I'm pleased to present the Corporate Parenting Board for 22-23. This is the last report as a joint board. As many will know, the Corporate Parenting Board has now been split between the North and West. The Council has statutory duties as a corporate parent defined in legislation. As councillors, we are all corporate parents and must do the best for children and care leavers in our care. This report went to the Executive earlier this month and sets out 4 key priorities. They are live safe, be safe, fulfil potential, develop resilience, enjoy good health and well-being. I'm sure members will have had a chance to read this as the report's been out for quite some time now, so I'm therefore pleased to move the recommendation set out in 3.1. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. May I please see a seconder for the item? Councillor Lawman.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I would like to second that report. There's nothing really I want to add. It is self-explanatory and an excellent report. Thank you.
Okay. No one wishing to speak on that item, so... Oh, hold on, yes. Councillor Fedorovich.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I shall be brief. Just 2 quick points. Just regarding school places, I'm really glad that this was highlighted as an issue for us to focus on, or that the parenting board will be focusing on. Yeah, I'm not sure that we're necessarily fulfilling our duty with this in terms of it at the moment. I'm just wanting to highlight some concern there, but it obviously has been highlighted, but I think we need to keep a close eye on that. Virtual school does sound really, really good, but it'd be lovely for members to have a little bit more knowledge of this. Even from reading the report, I think it would be nice to understand more about that. And it was really great that the LGA highlighted that as a strength of ours. But I also have concerns that not all children are accessing this. It's, from what I understand of it, it's for those that can't access school places at the moment. And I know for a fact that I have residents that haven't been accessing this. So I just wanted to raise that as well. But thank you very much. Oh, and it's a huge report. There was no summary. I've had that as a comment as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Addison.
Thank you, Chair. I'm pleased to see there's been some improvement in the health assessments for children. However, if members cast their mind back to last budget reports, we asked for funding after discussion with the previous Director of Children's Services for a educational psychologist to be funded. Unfortunately, that was denied. The problem is, isn't it, that quite rightly so, the children in care have their assessments done promptly. However, there is a knock-on effect to other children as well. So we need to be a bit more proactive in how we fund these services. Thank you.
Councillor Brackenbury, do you wish to comment further?
I think the report is quite self-explanatory. The actual virtual school serves to care for and look after those children in our care. So,
okay.
Thank you. And they actually look at the data with exams and that, but they do a lot with our care. Children in North Northamptonshire's care. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The motion has been moved and seconded. We will now move to the vote. Please use your electronic voting buttons on your microphone units.
The vote is now commencing. There are 10 seconds remaining. The vote has ended.
Chair, that is 57 votes in favour, 3 abstentions and 1 against.
Oh, there we go. agenda item 10, revenue budget update 2023 to 24. May I please see Councillor Lloyd Bunday to present and move this report?
Thank you, Chair. At the executive meeting on the 12th of October, it was agreed that approval is given to commence procurement for a single cloud-hosted iDocs case management system for North Northamptonshire Council. Because of the level of revenue cost, this approval is subject to approval from Council to utilise the transformation reserve to fund the one-off implementation costs of up to £600,000 and the approval of the inclusion of the ongoing annual revenue savings of just over £40,000 resulting from the implementation of the new system in the medium-term financial plan. With that, Chair, the recommendations are set out at section 3 of the report and I'm happy to propose them.
Okay, thank you. Can I please see a seconder for that item? Councillor Brackenbury.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'm very pleased to second the motion. I think Councillor Bunday explained the importance of this system. The fact that the funding is already allocated in transformation reserves and the fact that it will enable a much more efficient service, having joined up 5 different systems into one, it will enable a much more efficient service for our officers to be able to assist residents in North Northamptonshire, both in development and in regulatory services. So for that reasons, I'm very happy to second the motion.
Okay, thank you. Councillors wishing to speak. Councillor Jim Hakewell, please.
Thank you, Chairman. 7.7.1, page 66. The scheme recommended in this report has not been considered by scrutiny. So it goes on to say that it's considered by corporate scrutiny, but of course that would be retrospective because we're about to make the decision. What concerns me about this is the expiry of contracts is the 31st of March, and I, like others in this room, have been involved in my career in IT systems, software and so on. This must have been known about many years ago in Kettering, and there are 4 members of the Kettering executive sitting on this executive. So I really don't understand, having known for this for many years, that we're now in a situation of spending this money. I don't actually think there's enough time to properly procure and deliver this particular system. And I hope that the portfolio holder will get a better command of budgeting, because we should have been scrutinising this last year to make sure that the wider council understood the need for it. The transformation reserve started at 4.5 million in April. We already took 1.362 million out for the education case management system, again, which was not scrutinised in scrutiny last year. We're now adding 600,000, so £4.5 million worth of reserve is now £2 million, and we're 6 months through the year. Chairman, if you look over the country at the councils that are failing, the one single theme is that they ran out of reserves. There were not enough reserves, and in many of them there aren't enough assets to sell to capitalise and to do that. So we're moving through our reserves very quickly in almost half, during half the year. But the real key point is this should have been known in the budgeting process, and it should have been balanced with all other budgets. So I'm very concerned that there will be time to get this system in and running. No time. I'd like to ask the portfolio holder, what is plan B if we cannot train, implement, set up these systems and have our planning officers able to operate it effectively next year for planning, which everyone along the front row here describes as being a crucial service. So, Chairman, I think we need to get a grip of our finances and we need to get a grip of forward planning. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lynn Buckingham, please.
Thank you very much. I've got just a very quick couple of questions to ask. So, scrutiny did actually set up an ICT value for money scrutiny group. Hasn't met for quite some time because Councillor Rowley moved from that to his portfolio now. I'd like to know when that will be up and running again. And like Councillor Hakewill, there's a lot of these ICT new systems coming forward. I would have thought that there would have been some form of economies of scale in procuring some of those, because some of those might have come from the same company. Or how can you give us assurance that these ICT projects are going to work out as we need them to? Thank you very kindly.
Thank you. Councillor John McGee, please.
Thank you, Chair. I've just got one question. When I spoke to the last Chief Exec and Chief Execs indeed round this country, when we talk about transformation into a unitary, it can take up to 4 or 5 years to say on average. Do we still believe, having taken this out of the reserves and not replacing it into the transformation reserves from the savings, that we still have enough in there to do the next 2 or 3 years to change this council the way that we need to?
Thank you. And Councillor Fedorovich, please.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I just wanted to say I am very pleased to see that the new tech is actually changing, like the CMS system is improving. It's a really, really important part of improving our customer service, something I've been talking to Jeff about for some time. But my question is, essentially, there was no alternative shown, even in the exec papers, for iDocs, the system that we're going to be investing in. And I've been onto the iDocs website, and there's no preview. There's no real way for us to see what we will be getting. And I have tried to ask about this, but Jeff has since left the council, and I have not been able to get any answers to these questions. So the thing I wanted to ask, and a thing that I have been requesting since last year, or potentially even a little bit before that, it was about middle of last year, is can councillors, or can we have a system that enables councillors and members, council officers and members to access the same casework system? That is so vitally important, because I've seen it working exceptionally efficiently in other councils, and I've reiterated this so many times, and I've not had this assurance with the CMS. So until if anyone in the room can give me that assurance today, that would be very, very helpful. I have not been able to get that thus far. I've been told that we can bolt on these sorts of functionality later, but that has not been a crystal clear thing, and I think it's very, very important. Also, there's no information that I've been able to find in any of the reports as to how other councils are finding this system. We know other councils are using it, so any answers on that would be really, really helpful. And again, as sort of Jim said, why was this not in the budget if we knew this was coming? Ultimately, for me, I know that tech is so important. It's very important to me. This is what I do for a living. I am in tech. It is so important for us to sort out our customer service. So yes, for that very much, but I have a lot of questions, as you can see, and if I can get any answers to those today, I'd be most grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. No other speakers. Councillor Bundade, would you like to respond?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Taking them in reverse order, and if I miss anything out, please feel free to come back to me. Sorry, Councillor Hakewill, you've got my bad side. The Chair's got my good side, but hello. The system that we're talking about is a case management system. It's not the customer management system of our customer service department. It's a completely different system. This is one for our planning department, not for our and regulatory, as my friend says. So the two systems are completely different. And that's quite plain from the report. Yes, there are advantages from reducing the number of systems rather than having 5 systems, reducing it into 1. It is going to take a while to bed in. It is going to take a while to work. We have qualified officers who recommend systems to us, and they're the people who we have to take advice on what services we put in and what systems we put in. As far as transformation reserves, you hear me say it all the while that reserves are there, and once you've spent them, they've gone. So they've got to be spent on particular things. And we've set aside reserves for transformation. And this is exactly what it says. This is transformation. So I can't see the concern about that. And yeah, I do apologise to Councillor Hakewill, because I am well aware that, as he keeps reminding us, in 2013 he was chair of scrutiny. And in 2013 we should have realised that we needed a new case management system in 2023. And I apologise that we didn't do that. As I say, if I've missed any answers out, I'm happy to talk to you all later.
Okay. Thank you. We will now move to the vote. Could you please use your electronic voting buttons?
The vote is now commencing. There are 10 seconds remaining. The vote has now ended.
Chair, that is 54 votes in favour, 6 abstentions and none against.
Sorry. The vote is carried. Thank you. We move on to agenda item 11, which is motions on notice. We have 3 further motions on notice carried over from our previous meeting on the 31st of August, as printed on your agenda papers. Please note that I expect all contributions to be concise, and please respect the time limits that apply. A mover of a motion has a maximum of 5 minutes to speak. All other contributions are a maximum of 3 minutes. Thank you. Motion 2, may I please see Councillor Anne Lee to move the motion.
Thank you, Chair. Chair and Councillors, I will briefly explain the background for councillors outside Kettering, then what we are asking for, then how it can be paid for, and the consequences of continuing to dither as we are doing now. The Kettering Art Gallery and Library are underneath the same roof, and together they form one Grade 2 listed building. This also explains why the executive rebranded the entire building one and the same name, Cornerstone. Also, by way of information, there have been buckets to catch the rain coming through the roof for as long as I can remember in the library, so the problem with the leaking roof is not new. The art gallery underwent a £4 million extension, and for some reason repairing the roof was not included in the project. The opening date of the extended art gallery came and went because of the ingress of water. Since then, the water just kept on getting in. The roof has rapidly deteriorated, and as since last Monday, Kettering Library, under the same roof, has needed to close. The library, information desk, business centre, all closed. The stakes are getting higher. The leaking roof over this one building has now taken 2 public functions out of action. Now, there are plans for a phase 1 of the roof repair, as explained by the officer leading the project to the Place and Environment Scrutiny Committee on the 29th of August. The design for a replacement roof has been procured and preparations are underway for the building to be wrapped. For a tent to go over the building when the electrics will be safe and the art gallery can reopen. The minutes of the Scrutiny Committee in August says, the committee discussed the report, all expressed concern over the delay and felt that the opening was considerably overdue. Originally, a report was due to go to the October exec. In the current forward plan, it's announced for the November 23 executive. Now, with the library closed, you would think that the repairs were expedited, but no, the plans are delayed even further. Although with the library closed due to the leaking roof, the stakes are much higher, as I said, to the point that this Grade 2 listed building is becoming so waterlogged that future repairs will become increasingly expensive. All we're asking here is get the wrapping sorted, install the tenting that has already been designed, and once that is in place, the building is functional again and it can reopen, as we were told in May and then again in August at the scrutiny meeting. How will we pay for it? Please note that several millions of pounds have already been collected in under Section 106 money for Hanwood Park, and one of the headings for the existing Section 106 pot that's sitting there is Town Centre and the Library. The council is reserving the funds for the secondary school, but that is some way off. By the time that arrives, there will be more than enough. So there is scope to use the allocated money already collected on the library and art gallery roof before inflation reduces its value. Whenever this council is asked to consider a recommendation, the report includes the question, what are the alternatives? Do we have any other options? Well, the library building in Kettering opened in 1904, so next year, 2024, it's set to celebrate its 120th anniversary. So the Friends of the Library have great plans to celebrate that centenary. Will the library be open then? So what is the alternative to wrapping the building, leaving Kettering without a library and without an art gallery? 1 in 5 children in England between 5 and 8 years old does not have any books at home, according to a report by the National Literacy Trust published last year, citing the rising cost of living as a key reason for this figure increasing year on year. This executive that has thrown many millions at Chester House and is still funding Chester House is not prepared to take action on one of its best assets, a Grade 2 listed building that was designed to serve the public as a library and art gallery. By refusing to accept the summer 2024 deadline in this motion for the building to reopen and to be wrapped, the executive has laid its cards on the table that it is kicking this can down the road, and that not only will Kettering residents need to make do without an art gallery, but also without a library. And now it has far-reaching consequences, with the library being out of action. The half-time library activities had to be rearranged in the Newland Shopping Centre by the long-suffering staff of the library, and they have served the residents so well with advice. So I want to pay tribute to the staff and to the volunteers who kept the art gallery going in the shopping centre. But please share your thinking, please communicate with us, because there hasn't been much communication. Please explain why this building is allowed to deteriorate when the tent could have been in place by now.
Your time is up. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Can I please see Councillor Watts to second the motion?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to second the motion and reserve the right to speak, please.
Okay. Before I move to councillors to speak on the motion, I have been notified of one amendment prior to the meeting. May I please see Councillor Helen Howell to move the amendment?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and I'd like to propose, as you said, an amendment to the motion. But first, a little context. It is extremely disappointing that the gallery and associated buildings have had to close to the public for some time now. We are facing a significant challenge with the old building. It is a Grade 2 listed heritage building with many constraints. We are in the unfortunate position of having to take on the responsibility for the repairs and maintenance for this building, and that's since vesting day. And the building has had limited maintenance in the previous years. We are now in a position where we have a fantastic new addition to the property in Cornerstone, and we have completed refurbishments to the gallery and other parts of the building, but are unable to open them due to water ingress from the old roof. The roof replacement was not part of the scope of works for the Cornerstone build, but we are now in a position where a full roof replacement is required. The project is extremely complex as the roof is made up of many different pitches and is covered in Collyweston slate. We are looking to bring a paper to Executive in November to approve the process and costings, which will then need to go to full council in December if all goes to plan. After approval by the council, if agreed, there will need to be a procurement exercise for a tenting process. We already have the design and indicative costs for 1 year. And the erection of the tent will take approximately 6 to 9 months. This all needs to happen before the roof can be touched. We also need listed building consent and approval from Heritage England to proceed. We can also then look to order the Collyweston slate, which has a lead time of around 11 months, and it could take up to a year then to replace the roof. All this needs to be taken into account when looking at timescales. We cannot use an alternative product due to the listed building status. We are working as fast and as smart as possible to get this over the line, but as I have said, it's an extremely complex project. Let's not forget, as with Chester House, as you quite rightly said, we encountered many similar issues, but this is now its second year and it's going from strength to strength. Once this building is repaired, it will be another fantastic asset for Northants and Kettering. Therefore, I must propose an amendment to the motion, as adding an unachievable date will only put this council at risk and could also cost this council considerably more money. So I propose a minor amendment as follows. The Alfred East Gallery in Kettering has now been closed for 2 years to improve and maximise its potential. Northamptonshire Council will continue to keep councillors informed of the progress made on repairing / replacing the roof of the Art Gallery building and adjoining library roof. Also, it is requested that the Executive continue to progress the project with a view to open Cornerstone and with it the Alfred East Gallery as soon as practicably possible. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder for that?
Just to confirm, Chair, we're just going to put it up on the screen now. Thank you, Callum.
Okay, so that's the amendment is now on the screen for you to see. Do we have a seconder for that proposal?
Very happy to second it. Reserve the right to speak, if I may, please.
Okay. I have councillors wishing to speak. Councillor Martin Griffiths, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I should have perhaps declared earlier. I know that one Cabinet member, Councillor Bundy, knows that I was a board member of SEMLEP when the GLAM funding was granted to approve the Cultural Centre of Kettering. The Library and Art Gallery are a vital part of the Cultural Centre of Kettering, and I believe, up until just now, that we have let down both the people of Kettering and SEMLEP. But I welcome the announcement that has been made, and I fully support the amended motion. Madam Chairman, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Leanne Buckingham, please.
Thank you very much. I'll be short and sweet. I'll be voting against the amendment simply because when we make motions and we support motions, we're looking for political will to get them done. I appreciate all that my colleague has said in updating us on the whys, and I understand it will take time. I am heartened that you will indeed be getting the work done, but I would like us to go as quick as we can, so I'd like the wording to stay.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Jim Hakewill, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Sometimes the things I hear and the way these things are done are completely surreal. We sat here on the 31st of August with this amendment, which has been carried over, and it's taken 2 whole months to get something up on that board which should and could have been given to us all before the meeting. That's what you call playing politics to undermine the very reasonable motion that has gone forward. Why did it take 2 months to actually write that? And why is it only appearing in front of our eyes? That is not democracy. That is not open. That is not transparent. So whichever way it goes, and I'm not stupid enough to know that it won't go in favour of the amendment from the group which has 55 members and reducing. Chair, over the last week or two, a word called belittling has been in the parlance. And to belittle is to make a person or an action seem as if he, she, or it is not important. Constantly in this chamber, people talk about scrutiny, and they talk about my chairmanship of scrutiny on the County Council. And just recently, Councillor Bunday talked about me being chair of scrutiny in 2013, which I was not in Kettering, where it was. But if I was in charge of scrutiny, I would be saying, why was there £300,000 in a budget 3 or 4 years ago to repair the library roof? Wasn't that, in motor racing terms, a bit of a red flag when this council and its predecessor, with 4 members of the executive and 3 others sitting in this room, set off with that process? We knew at the county council, I see Councillor McGee nodding his head, we knew there was a problem with that library. Whether or not we fixed it, it was the responsibility of this organisation, this council, to get that job done. £300,000 wasn't a small amount, it was in the budget, and it was said to fix the roof. Did we fix the roof? We did not. We built something onto it without knowing that the foundations of the previous building were sure and firm. So I won't vote for this amendment because what it does, it kicks it into the very long grass. It takes away any dates or timescales. This week is half term, as a lot of people will know. We have grandchildren, so we went to Coventry to go to a museum because we couldn't go to our own museum in Kettering because it's closed, or the art gallery because it's closed. So, Chairman, this is an abject failure of this authority to do the job properly. And when it comes to Chester Farm, I would like to ask the portfolio holder to give us an outcome of the funding that has gone into that and the profit and loss, because it seems to be buried.
Sorry,
But
can
to mention
we
that as
keep
well.
to the topic in hand, please?
Yeah, the topic in hand is where you care to spend your money.
Okay.
And we would prefer you to spend it in Kettering.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Councillor John McGee, please.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Hill was right. They inherited it. They inherited it from a county council where most of them are sitting on the front bench that let that happen, unfortunately. Well, you can say not you, but your comrades sitting there did it. And the last councillor mentions belittling. And I've heard that a few times, especially towards Jim. Belittling is a term of bullying, but of course your party, both locally and nationally, know about that anyway. But Chair, what I don't see in this, if you're going to have an amendment, is where was the temporary building? It's going to be 2 years at least, but it's what you're saying, at least 2 years. Why can't Kettering have a temporary building, but both of that can move into temporary during that time? You'd have thought you'd at least try to do something like that to improve it. Would much rather see the roof done quickly. If the portfolio holder would like to listen, it would be better, Chair, because they've got the responsibility. But you would have seen something like that up there, wouldn't you? Would much rather the roof got done for the people of Kettering, and indeed others that go and visit it from outside of Kettering, because that's what people do. But I don't see any mention of putting it in a suitable building nearby for 2 years at least, because that's how long it's going to be, unfortunately. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Smithers, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to just bring this back down to the ground, on a level, really. And we have a building here in Kettering that we should all be absolutely proud of. It's a building that's got, hundreds of years of history. And as custodians of that building, we need to put a new roof on that building to ensure that future generations have the pleasure of going in to see the art, into the gallery, to use the library to inspire themselves while they read. What we don't need in this chamber is people throwing accusations about how we're going to do this. This is going to be coming back to you lot, everyone in this chamber, to make a decision. And I can tell you now it's going to be a very difficult decision because it's going to be financially a big hit. So we need, as a chamber, as an administration and as an opposition, to ensure that we do what's right for the people of Kettering and what's right for the people of Northamptonshire. And that is to put a roof on that building as quickly as possible and not rush into a building with doing a haphazardous job without the correct planning. That's not what this authority is about. We want to make sure that that building is fit for future generations, and that's what we'll achieve. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Russell Roberts, please.
Thank you, Chairman. There's an awful lot to be said about this building, and a lot's already been said. The library and the gallery is a wonderful asset for the people in this area, and it has needed investment for a very long time, and we've fought a battle, and we've lost that battle on over many years to get the roof mended. It's very difficult with an old building and a building that's listed to get repairs done in order. You have to take your time. Collie Weston is, as I've now found, a very difficult material. But I'm absolutely certain that the administration is very, very serious about getting this work done. And I'm grateful for this motion to be brought to the council because I don't think we need to say this too much, but we of the people in Kettering are going to make sure it gets done. We've accepted a lot of building, we've accepted a lot of factories, we've accrued some money on account with the 106, S106, and this is the sort of thing that it should be spent on. So I'm looking forward to, as soon as possible, having the difficult conversation at full council and making the right decision because it's good for the people in this area. The library was, I don't know whether it is now, but the library was a 7-day-a-week opening library, which I was fiercely proud of, and I know the people of Kettering was fiercely proud of. So I'm going to be watching this like a hawk. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Lloyd Bunday, please.
Thank you, Chair. Without going too much into the past, some people around this room will remember I used to be portfolio holder for Communities and Heritage at Kettering Borough Council. And I had a phone call in the middle of the night from actually Guy Holloway, who was telling me that the water was pouring in through the roof of the art gallery. And that was because some of our friends stole the lead. And we repaired it. Now, we repaired it because the art gallery belonged to Kettering Borough Council. So as Councillor Hakewell says, we've set aside £300,000 for the library roof. We would not have set that aside in Kettering Borough Council days. That would have been set aside by Northamptonshire County Council. So it's Northamptonshire County Council who set that money aside for that, not Kettering Borough Council. But I think there's something else that we've got to realise, and that is whether or not we want to call it Cornerstone or whether or not Cornerstone had been built or developed or anything else, that roof would have failed. And in fact, to be honest with you, the area that actually caved in, which has closed the library now, would have failed and probably failed at this time, and we wouldn't have known anything about it unless we'd started the Cornerstone project. So I think we've got to realise that we're sitting here. It would have happened anyway, but I think what you're getting from this side of the chamber is we are 100% committed to actually reopening that building and making that building good and better, not just for a few years as a plaster over the top of it, but good and better for generations to come. And that is something that we can't just jump at. We've got to take our time and plan it properly.
Thank you. Councillor Fedorovich, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not going to get into the poor planning, this was known about for 5 years plus point, because that's been said to death, I think. And I'm also not really going to get into the politics of this, because people are trying to push this on. Obviously, we can look at that as well, in terms of the, I don't know, whether you want to brand this as a failing of the authority. We should have known about this, but what we're dealing with is right now, and we know that we've got Section 106 money that could solve this. So I've already chatted to Councillor Howell about this, and we do know that we've got some amount, not enough to do the whole job, but we've got some. And what I haven't had back is actually finding out if that could tent the roof, to watertight it. Bringing this back down to cost. We know that the library is incurring problematic costs right now. The staff are being taken out, the floor is being damaged. This is a grade 2 listed building. It's being damaged on the inside by not tenting this soon. And we've known about this, and this came to our scrutiny, environment scrutiny, at the end of August, and we said then, this isn't going to be tented in time if you're waiting for the bids. If you're waiting to put this all through as one bid, which is what we are doing. This is not moving quick enough. This is not dealing with things and thinking, right, okay, we do need to put on a bit of a plaster. We need to make sure that it is airtight, watertight, sorry, so that people can continue to use it, so that people with jobs are not put out, so that people of Kettering do not lose out on these vital services. Unfortunately, this, for me, it comes down to cost. Like, try and think about this from a pragmatic point of view. If we just can get this airtight or watertight, I keep saying that, don't I? Get this watertight, it will then be better for us as a council, and then people can utilise this service. It is something we can do short term. I am absolutely sure of it. I'm yet to hear the facts to say otherwise. So please consider utilising Section 106 money that we have said that has been put there for the library. And I don't see any reason why, in terms of this, this amendment is taking off the deadline. And quite frankly, we should have been putting the deadline way sooner. We already knew this was a problem, so having this as a deadline for it to be watertight, not airtight, watertight by that time and open to the public, we should be able to do that.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Wilkes, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's been a lot of passionate talk in the room about this beautiful building, and the one common theme is that everybody wants it to open. What I can't get my head around is why would anybody not vote for the amendment? So, we know that it's a complex building, it's a complex roof, it requires materials that are difficult to source. In fact, anybody that knows anything about building knows that if you're having to rely on Collie Western, your number of suppliers is very small. And we have to go through English heritage planning. So it's a complex thing. That you cannot do this. Councillor Fedorovich mentions it's just about money. But it isn't, of course. It's about finding the materials and finding specialist contractors. This isn't the kind of thing that your local builder can do. So we have got to go through, we've got to all agree it, and I hope everybody in this room can swallow this, but we've got to agree. Then we've got to go through procurement. We've got to find the contractor. We've got to find the materials. If those contractors and those cannot get the materials in time to meet that deadline, they won't quote. So by putting a deadline on it, what we are basically saying is, right, contractors, can you all repair the roof on this with materials that we know you can't get by that deadline, And if they can't, then they won't quote for the job. How on earth is that helping anybody get the roof done? We need it done as soon as is practically possible. That means as soon as the contractors can get the materials and do the job. It makes absolutely no sense not to support the amendment. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor John Paul Carr, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to bring members' attention back to the actual motion originally put to us. There is no mention in it about the library whatsoever. It is about the Alfred East Art Gallery. So therefore this amendment covers both the Alfred East Art Gallery and the library and the roof in itself. The building is a very complicated building. I probably know more about it than certain people in this room, having worked for the library service in that building and also being the assistant curator for a period of time in the art gallery as well. To open an art gallery in another building, there are all sorts of complications that you would have to go through: environmental conditions, security, lighting, etc. Likewise with opening a library in another building. But there are things that certainly can be considered going forward, I'm sure. I'm aware that staff, certainly in the museum and the art gallery, are doing lots of other things behind the scenes for when the art gallery reopens. The building in itself, as we've said, is a complicated building. We've heard that it was opened in 1904. We've heard that it's got Collie Western slate on the roof. We've heard that it will take 11 months to get that Collie Western slate. And there are only 2 suppliers in the whole of this country. The building itself, obviously, is an arts and craft building, or early Renaissance, depending on how you want to look and interpret that building. And it's built from many different kinds of historic material. Bricks which came from Hemel Hempstead, stone from Ketton, and so on. We've heard about how Historic England will have their views on the restoration of this building. There is a cost element that none of us know yet, and we do need to get it right. This is not just an asset for Kettering, it's an asset for the whole of Northamptonshire, and further afield in regards to what it offers for tourism, health and well-being, community, and so on. Therefore, I'm very happy, as I said, to second the motion, and I think we just need to move forward, everybody, with things.
Thank you. Councillor Lynn Buckingham, please.
Thank you very much, and apologies for not standing up, but you'll understand. We're not talking about the long term here. We're talking about making sure that the building is watertight and safe from further deterioration. And that's what we're asking for. Can we make sure that it doesn't deteriorate? It's ongoing costs as well. You know, you've got to take all those into consideration, and because of that, you know, because there are no guarantees that this building will not need a lot more money put into it because of not being able to get it as safe as possible now. So I cannot support the amendment.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Maxwell, please.
I would like to say, basically, which something that we have not really thought about is children of the future. This building will help them go to the library, go to the gallery, whatever it may be. But we have to think about the future. It's not about now, because we know we need to sort it out. It costs money to get materials, and we know that. If anybody's gone along and start putting on the roof, they know what it is. But the thing is, we need to think that the officers who've actually thought this through know that actually, at the end of the day, you can't put a price on this. You can't put a time on it. You just need to think that the future has got to be so that this building comes back into being used for the very thing, the reasons why children have an education. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Right, we'll go to our final speaker on this item, Councillor David Howes, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I just want to be brief, really. The motion sets out that we want to reopen the library and associated, well, the Alfred East Art Gallery, but I'm going to assume you mean library as well, by the summer of 2024. It's not practically possible. It's quite simple, really. It's not going to be possible to redo it.
Okay.
Sorry. It's not going to be possible for all the reasons that have been explained tonight. We all want to reopen the building. It's going to take longer than 7, 8, 9 months to do that. The amendment is quite clear that we all want the same thing. I really don't know why we're debating any longer. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you. I will now ask Councillor Howell as the mover if she would like to make any final comments.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yes, I do. I think it's quite clear that everybody is extremely passionate about getting this beautiful, historic Grade 2 listed building up and running again. I and the officers have been working tirelessly to come to a solution. But let's bear in mind, we have to get approval. We can't just throw something up to stop it from raining. We have to go through a proper process. We are councillors. We're elected to make legal decisions. We can't just decide to spend money willy-nilly. We have to go to executive for approval. We have to then go to the full council for approval. Then we have to go through a procurement process, and that includes just for the tenting. We have had a quote and a design for 1 year of tenting. 1 year isn't long enough. We've had to go back and get further quotes. Otherwise, this council will incur further costs day in, day out, and they will be elevated costs. We have not delayed on this project. We are literally pushing this project as fast as we can so that you, all of us, can make the decision to move forward with this. And I will tell you now, this is going to be an eye-watering cost to this council. I've seen the figures, the projected figures, and it is eye-watering. So, you know, we cannot make snap decisions here. We have to do it properly. We have to consider every single resident in North Northants and what impact it has on their purse. So with that, Madam Chair, I absolutely propose the amendment because putting a timescale on this will only cost this council and its residents more money. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. With the amendment has been proposed and seconded, we will now move to the vote. Will you please use your electronic voting buttons, please?
The vote is now commencing. There are 10 seconds remaining. The vote has ended.
Chair, that is 46 votes in favour of the amendment, 1 abstention and 13 against.
Sorry, the vote on the amendment is carried. Thank you.
Members, as the amendment was carried, this has now become the substantive motion. We will vote on the substantive motion. We can still debate, and if members wish to debate further, then they can use their electronic devices. Otherwise, we will move straight to the vote.
Councillor Hakewill, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Willy-nilly spending money. We've known this for 5 years. It's an abject failure of this administration not to be able to come tonight and tell us exactly what the plans are. I haven't seen the eye-watering figures. Why haven't we seen the eye-watering figures if the eye-watering figures exist? Why haven't we scrutinised that? It always seems that so much is carried on behind closed doors and the rest of us are expected to be spoon-fed what we're being told without the information, not least of which not being told for 2 whole months that this was going to be an amendment to this particular item. So obviously it will go through, but what I would like to understand from portfolio holder, finance or otherwise, exactly what, with your best estimate, would you describe as soon as practically possible? Because it's the most weasel set of words in governance ever. So what does as soon as practically possible mean? When do we think portfolio holder will be cutting the ribbon for the new roof and that library and art gallery being properly open? We haven't even talked about the museum. So what does as soon as practically possible mean in the best guess for the people of Kettering?
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Councillor Lee?
Yes, I was going to make the point that we have not, you've inserted, will continue to keep councillors informed. Sorry, but we haven't been informed at all. We've hardly been. The last time you claimed that, I asked, please send me a list of all the communications, and there was very little there, and none of it with the council, with the councillors. We have not been informed. We have not been informed about what you said just now, that the tenting, that 1 year wasn't enough, so you needed to get quotes for the 2 years. You haven't told us that. You are not telling us anything. You're treating this as if it's your own property rather than a public building. And councillors and the public are entitled to be kept informed.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Howell.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yes, this process, as I've said, has taken a considerable amount of time. I actually received a draft paper last night. So that's the only reason why I can turn around to you today and tell you what I've been telling you. So it's not about you not being informed. It's about not receiving the information from all of the parties involved in putting a proposal together, ready for a paper to go to executive in November. It has taken this long. That's the process. You know, these are specialists. They have to get into the building, examine the building. So as I said, last night I received this information. You couldn't have got it any quicker than what I'm telling you now. So other than that, I can't tell you any more. And you talk about the Section 106 monies. As I've said, 300,000 is not even a drop in the ocean. So let's just try and get this sorted. Let's get it done. You know, stop talking about it as if it's a ball that you're passing along between people. We all want the same outcome for this building. So just let's get on with it. We have to get on with it.
Okay, thank you. I think we now move to the vote. Are they going to be alone? Okay. We will continue. We have 3 more speakers, then we will end the debate. Councillor Smithers.
Thank you, Chair. Look, as I've said before, we all want this roof repaired. Let's stop this messing around. Let's get on with the vote and get on with it. So what I will propose, Madam Chair, is we have a recorded vote for this. And for those who do not vote in favour, clearly do not want the library repaired and brought back into public use. So let's see everyone vote in line and get it done.
I think you've got that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Russell-Roberts.
Well, I was going to stand up and say anybody that knows me or has ever known me knows that I look for consensus. And I was going to say let's try and come together and work together. I'm still going to say it. I would very much like this. I know it's Kettering, it's where I live. I love the place. But there's a wider thing here. Children come from all over to do things at this, read books and do things at this library and the art gallery. I would like us all to come together and work as a team. And I think we do need to be given more information as soon as it's possibly available and kept informed on a daily basis, weekly, monthly basis Because the one thing I've taken from tonight, and so I'm going to hold some people in the room to account on this, is we've committed ourselves to bringing back the library and the gallery. That's important. So let's now go to the vote and vote for it. Please, let's come together on this one. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Final speaker, Councillor Cahoon.
Thank you, Chair. Very briefly, Chair. Councillor Howell says we all want the same outcome, and that's very true. That's exactly what we want. Unfortunately, I think when we have the next local elections in 2025, we will still be discussing this particular topic in this room. Unfortunately for people facing me, a hell of a lot of them aren't going to be here. But I think what we can't do, Chair, is drag our heels and say, OK, it's not going to happen this year or next year or the following year. Councillor McGee asked a very salient question a bit earlier. Can we possibly have a temporary facility for the people of Kettering? That's what I would like to see. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for all those comments. Can we please now move to the vote? Please use your electronic voting button.
The vote is now commencing. There are 10 seconds remaining.
We're going to give it just 10
The vote
minutes.
has ended.
Chair, the result of that vote is 59 in favour, 1 abstention and 1 against.
Okay, the amendment is carried. Thank you. Sorry, motion is carried. I'm going to now propose that we have a 10-minute break, but we will reconvene at 7.
Sorry, could you all be respectful of the chair when she's speaking? Thank you.
Yes. We will reconvene at 7:55. So as we don't prolong the meeting longer than necessary, I would ask you to return to your seats so we can conclude the business of the meeting, please. please return to your seat? Next item on the... Oh, we've done that. Next item on the agenda is motion 3. May I please see Councillor Hakewill to move the motion? Is he in the room?
No.
Councillor Hakewill.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd just like to complete the last bit. The leader decided that he thought I was whipped in that decision by Councillor Fedorovic. I would just like to say, no.
It's got nothing to do with this.
My motion is, I love the chatter. Chairman, my motion is that this council treasures the library service, ironic, and the many events and personal well-being experiences provided by our libraries. Whether in the statutory or community-managed library family, many of the assets of our libraries have been and are today shared across the county. Before any proposals for change in the way in which our libraries are funded, managed and operated, there must be a clear, compelling, financially sound and customer service oriented business case, subjected to wide public consultation and full scrutiny by North Northamptonshire, and ideally jointly with West Northamptonshire Councillor colleagues. This will ensure that everyone involved in running our libraries and everyone who benefits from the vast array of books and events will be able to confidently continue to enjoy the same services when visiting their local library in the future. I so move. Let us remember also the comments of Chris Stambra on page 21 of your agenda, who came to the last meeting before it was so untimely cut. And he spoke with passion as someone who also works for a community-managed library. When I was first elected to the County Council in 2013, upon which I was a proud chair of scrutiny, one of the first things I did in Rothwell was to go along to the library and make myself known. It was a library I already knew about. So I knew how the libraries ran and the sort of things that they did. I'm very proud to be able to go there and to be welcomed there. Subsequently, at the County Council, despite scrutiny and despite those on the Cabinet deciding that it was an area for cuts, I fought very hard for Rothwell Library. They knew me, they understood that I wouldn't be subjected to a political whip on whether or not that library existed, but that I would support them, and they knew that. And therefore, I'm very proud, as many other councillors in this chamber are, of their association with their local library, whether it be statutory or a community-managed library. Lots of us have those sort of thoughts, memories and help for their local library. We don't have a library strategy. Talked about strategies earlier, didn't we? But West Northamptonshire, our colleagues across the border, do and are working on a libraries strategy. We don't seem to have got round to that yet. There were suggestions that the Joint Shared Services Committee would disaggregate libraries between the North and the West. Magically, it disappeared from the agenda when I put this motion forward on the 31st of August, and I attended the 5-minute, 8-minute long meeting yesterday just to see if libraries were still going to be on that particular agenda. Perhaps history repeating itself has caused a rethink from portfolio holders and executive on this particular proposal. There is no funding analysis, there's no human analysis, there's no analysis at all. And therefore, I move this motion. Intriguingly, I wonder if we're about to get an amendment which has been hidden from sight, but waiting 2 months to come forward. Should we do so, Chairman, that will be a slap in the face of all those people in North Northamptonshire who treasure and love their library and would like to have some sort of input and say, some sort of balance on how much should be spent on libraries and how we should care for them. So I so move, and I look for a seconder, and very happy to continue at the end of the debate.
Councillor Best, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to second the motion. I think Chris Stanborough's written statement and Jim Haquell's motion are pretty clear. If we don't make any changes to the way we manage and structure our library service, it must only be on the basis that it provides at least the service we have today, if not an enhanced service. And that case needs to be proven before we make any changes. Thank you.
Okay, well, I would just remind everybody that we are working through the business carried over from the 31st of August full council. So if we are to conclude this business along with the other business, please keep your comments succinct, and we may not have as many speakers as we've had for the previous items. Okay, I'll now call Councillor Howell to speak, please.
Madam Chairman, thank you. And I'm sorry, I'm going to have to disappoint you, Councillor Haquell. There's no amendment coming forward. This council and this executive absolutely do treasure our library services and fully appreciate the great work our volunteers do in our community-managed libraries. This council have been fully supportive in keeping our libraries open wherever possible, and I'm delighted to say that this year we finally completed on the handover of our last 2 libraries in Raunds and Rothwell to community management, something we've been working on since vesting day. We are fully committed to maintaining the level of service our libraries provide throughout North Northants, and will continue to provide the support to all our community managed libraries. I have met many of the wonderful volunteers we have and thank them for their commitment and dedication to their communities. The library service is already 85% disaggregated. It was agreed in the blueprint that this service would be fully disaggregated post-vesting day, and a delay to the process has only happened as it was requested by West Northants Council. The motion refers to wide public consultation. Any proposed changes will be operational, and the service to the libraries will not change whatever options are approved. When NCC changed the library service for Northamptonshire some years ago, there was a full consultation that determined the statutory obligation and provision for Northamptonshire. This was followed by a judicial review, and changes to the original proposals were made. There is no proposal to change the library offering in either the north or the west of the county. Therefore, a second public consultation is not required or needed, as any changes will be, as I said, operational, and there is no intention to change or close any statutory or community-managed library. Let's not forget that each community-managed library has a service level agreement in place. There have already been 3 engagement sessions with library staff and volunteers to discuss their concerns, and assurances have been given regarding the commitment to maintain the operational standards. This is not a decision for this executive or this council. It is a joint decision to be made by the Joint Shared Service Committee, as agreed prior to vesting day through the blueprint. As I have said, we are already 85% disaggregated. A paper with options is being prepared and will be presented to the Joint Share Services Committee for consideration. Members are welcome to attend that meeting and make their views heard, but this motion serves no purpose as this council is not in a position to make this decision alone. Therefore, Madam Chairman, I cannot support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lynn Buckingham, please.
Thank you. Our library services are so important to our communities. The range of services that they provide to us, warm spaces, isolation groups, bringing children to learn about and learn to read. There are so many services that go on every week within our services that, you know, we just can't lose, because if we do, we will lose our community. So I know that when I first moved here to Corby, the first thing I did was go to the library and learn about the local community, because I knew about the steelworks, but I didn't know about anything else. And I used to take my daughters during the school holidays to the library, where we found out about the Oundle witches. So if you haven't heard the story of the Oundle witches, you know, go to the local library in Oundle and find out about them, because they're absolutely, you know, it's a story to be told. So this is just a common sense approach. We just can't lose services that go to the library. Thank you.
Thank you. Final speaker, Councillor Zoe McGee.
Thank you, Chair. I just thought I'd shed a bit of light on perhaps why it might be a good idea to offer some reassurances on the library. When I was about 14, maybe younger than that, I don't know, I'm looking to the other Councillor McGee who might know the answer to that. I shadowed my dad. I went to sit with my dad at a meeting of the previous council, and it really was an experience. I sat next to him and I heard all these people from the community who travelled all the way to Northampton to speak about how much libraries meant to them. There were people with disabilities, there were people with SEN, there were children, there were teachers. All these people came to this meeting and spoke so passionately about how much the libraries meant to them. And I thought, oh God, isn't this wonderful? Like, isn't this amazing that we have this service and we have the opportunity to support people like that? And then, of course, it went to the vote. And I will never forget that that council voted to close each and every one of those libraries that those people were talking about. I mean, I was there. Oh. Councillor McGee, is that what happened?
Close them all, but they dramatically cut the budget.
They dramatically cut the budget to those libraries. After, sorry, I'm not sure what difference that makes. Those people still pulled their heart out about how much those libraries meant to them. And some of you, regardless, sat there, listened to that. That's exactly what you're doing now. This is what this council does. Sits, listens, says what you want to hear, and then does something else. I mean, I've got statistics here on why libraries are so important. Reading is the single indicator, the biggest indicator for a child's future. That's from the World Book Day Foundation. I just thought I'd share that story with you to give you a little bit of understanding on why we're seeking reassurance here tonight. That's why, because that affected people, and this will affect people too.
Okay, thank you. I think we will now go to the vote. Well, before we go to the vote, I will give Councillor Hakewell an opportunity to respond. There'll be no more speakers, by the way.
Sorry. Thank you. Well, so the portfolio holder is relying on the County Council consultation, articulately expressed by Councillors McGee both, as to how we move forward. I think that's a road to Damascus point in this council, because I've never quite heard reliance on the county council. All I've ever heard is belittling of those people who did their best. on the County Council. The libraries issue was the best basis for the best political decision I ever made, which was not to sit in a bunch of Conservatives and just put my hand up without saying anything and closing the library. So, good. I'm glad that you're picking up on that consultation, and I'm also glad that it gave me the opportunity to stand on my own. What is the cost of disaggregation? Colleagues, in the West, unusually, or perhaps more usually, they've actually created a paper which says it will probably cost between £150,000 and £200,000 to disaggregate. Members of staff will have to change. If you want to borrow a book in Kettering and return it in Northampton, you'll have to have 2 library cards. We're already talking in this council in terms of the cost of the way in which it's being run. We've talked about the library roof, with children's services, direct schools grant, adult social care services. No one has told us yet, and we've been told there'll be no change. Well, there will be a change, because if the West is right, there'll be £150,000 to £200,000 worth of change. And Councillor McGee also says, and Councillor Buckingham, how important those libraries are. Well, frankly, I don't accept from a portfolio holder, trust me. When I told my daughters when they were going out, if I said, if anyone ever trust you, that we know what we're doing, run. So I feel really sad, again, that we spent 2 months not having any sort of amendment or change and no dialogue with anyone about the libraries. There are a lot of very, very good, very genuine people who will watch this video, who will look at who contributed, almost no one from those who have the power, and they will say to themselves, this is a council that's doing its own thing behind closed doors, does not want to scrutinise, does not want to consult with the people who may or may not be affected. I'm not taking, trust me, they won't be affected. I would like to be in rooms where consultation goes on, right, and people have the chance
Councillor
to contribute.
Hakewill, I'm sorry, your time is up.
Chairman, okay. Perfect timing on your behalf. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We've had a proposal, move the motion and seconded. We will now move to the vote. Will you please use your electronic devices?
The vote is now commencing. There are 10 seconds remaining. The vote has ended.
Chair, the results of the vote are 17 in favour, 1 abstention and 40 against.
The motion is lost. Thank you. We move on to motion 4. Could I please see Councillor Fedorovich to move the motion?
I know. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairman. It's my great pleasure to be bringing the first cross-party motion to Council. Thank you very much, Councillor Penland, for working with us on this, and Councillor Smithers as well. It's been a long time coming, I will say. This has been quite a few months. But yes, it's been really, really valuable and great to see us come together on a topic that I think we can all be united on. We all care about our rivers. We care about our waterways and our environment, and making sure that we have this for generations to come. It's a beautiful part. We live in a beautiful part of the country, and we want it to stay that way. So this is a motion really to highlight that. I also wanted to thank the Labour team as well for their councillors for getting involved in this motion, specifically Councillor Anne Lee and Lynn Buckingham, who helped part write it. Generally, we've had a lot of collaboration on this, and I think you'll all be interested to hear why this has come forward. So, as I've said, our local waterways and rivers and streams have been part of our landscape for generations, and they're under grave threat. And I don't think many people actually realise quite how bad the situation is. Well, let's start with some hard facts. By 2027, only 6% of rivers in England will be in good ecological condition if we don't take significant action now. Yes, you heard that right, 6%. Every single river is currently polluted. And the culprits are many. Agriculture, water industry, even runoff from our own roads. Over the last 2 years, water companies have spent over 6 million hours dumping sewage into our rivers. And if you think this is just a local problem, think again. A recent BBC article revealed that that 38% of fish health checks fail due to diseases caused by pollution. Our rivers are contaminated by a cocktail of sewage, agricultural runoff, and road pollution. And it's not just about the environment, it's about our pockets as well. Water companies have paid out about 72 billion in dividends, while the largest fine that has been imposed for polluting our rivers is a mere £250,000. 72 billion and £250,000. This imbalance in financial power is staggering and shows that our current system is heavily skewed in favour of profit over preservation. And let's not forget, pollution doesn't affect us all equally. People in deprived and heavily polluted urban areas are more likely to live within 600 metres of a river with poor chemical or biological quality. This is not just an environmental issue, it is a social justice issue too. So what can we do? There's a limited amount, I'll give you that, looking into this, there is a limited amount that we can do as a local organisation, but that is what this motion brings forward today, some of the things that we can do. The motion aims to tackle 3 key things. First, to understand the state of our rivers locally and work more closely with the Environment Agency who currently manage our rivers, and just to give us clarity on that and the public. The second is to explore options to protect our rivers, such as exploring things like bathing water status. And so what bathing water status does is it doesn't necessarily protect them in a sense of it doesn't stop them being polluted. They will still get polluted, that is a fact. But what it will do is it means that they will be a priority. So for the Environment Agency, who have had their funding cut back so extremely that they can now only go out and investigate the worst pollution cases, that is a fact. That's what we are seeing in our local area. They now at least can then go out and investigate bathing water status areas. So where we have people swimming in our rivers, all of that will at least help us be able to assess the situation quicker and clamp down on things as quick as we can. So that's helping how we can help the Environment Agency, as well as lobbying, hopefully. And I do think in both individual members and if we as a council in the future want to lobby as well, we need to be doing that at a top level to get that funding back so that the Environment Agency can properly enforce again. Finally, the last part of this motion is to have a closer eye on incident reporting. These are all actions that we can take at a local level, but we do also need that Environment Agency funding to be changed, to come back, because if we don't have that, we do not have visibility. We do not have the enforcement locally that we need. That and stricter fines for polluters so that we can actually clamp down on this massive issue. So we have power, we have influence, and we have responsibility to make sure our rivers are here to be used and enjoyed for years to come. I know everyone in this room really cares about it, and I think I look forward to bringing this forward with you and hopefully moving forward in some ways with everyone to make our rivers cleaner. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Pentland.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to second this motion and would like to reserve the right to speak, please.
Okay, we'll move on to speakers. Councillor Martin Griffiths, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I support the motion as, like millions of others, the length and breadth of this country, I am appalled with the condition of our waterways and believe that using periods of heavy rain to discharge and pollute our waterways is a national disgrace. Having said I support the motion, I do find it strange that a Cabinet member is seconding a motion, albeit a well-meaning one, as I would have hoped that the actions outlined and mentioned are already being acted upon, as with the assurances on the housing motion earlier. And that those motions are not, or those actions are not dependent upon this delayed motion being approved, which it surely will. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. We'll move on to Councillor David Brackenbury, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. And it is nice to see occasional cross-party consensus in this chamber. We spend a lot of time sometimes taking lumps out of each other when we're often in more or less agreement. But anyway, as far as this motion is concerned, I welcome it. It's something very much to support. And I think it is useful to point out that there is a lot of work going on, that these issues are not being taken in isolation or in ignorance. The Environment Agency are fully aware of the problems that are faced in river pollution and in river water management. And we must also not forget our colleagues and friends in Anglian Water as well, because they've got quite considerable involvement as well, not to mention various landowners and riparian owners who have responsibility for the land and the part of the river that they have responsibility for. I'm happy to continue working with colleagues on this across party divides, and of course there's some good work going on with the Neen Water Management Strategy, which is involving a wide range of stakeholders and is taking serious action to address many of the issues facing the River Neen. And also we will be aware, of course, of the Eyes Valley Strategic Plan, which was recently approved. So I welcome the motion. I welcome the opportunity with my flooding and my Northern Anglian Flooding and Coastal Committee hat on. I welcome the opportunity to work with colleagues to make the rivers in this part of North Northamptonshire as clean and as green, or blue indeed, as they can be. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Andy Mercer.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. First of all, I'll state that I support this motion. I've served on the Anglia Northern Flood and Coastal Committee for off and on for about 7 years, and I've been, on the one hand, pleased to see the work that has been done and the work that's in progress, but also disappointed about things that I've learnt. To put it in perspective, I've learnt that some of the dredgings that come out of our rivers are so polluted they have to go for burial as toxic waste, which is ridiculous. Secondly, that our Victorian era underground pipe system was built on the assumption that there was no reason why you should separate sewage and stormwater. So we've got vast areas of pipage which are combined, and trying to dig them up and split them into proper sewage pipes and storm drains is going to cost hundreds of billions, possibly getting on for $1 trillion, something ridiculous. But it's got to be done. There's no question about it. You cannot have a 21st century developed country where you mix sewage and stormwater. But I'll just finish with one last little point. Years ago, when I was as young as some of the youngest in here, which is a long time ago, I was visiting a place in the northeast, and I was on the riverbank there, and there was a factory discharging straight from a pipe into the river. From there to the sea, from bank to bank, the river was bright yellow. And I mean really bright, day-glow yellow, the whole river, the whole way down, and nobody saw anything wrong with discharging this ridiculous mess straight into a river so that it was completely dead and bright yellow the whole way to the sea from that point onwards. We've come a long way since then. It's just that we've still got a long way to go, and I hope everyone here in this chamber agrees with me that it's a journey we've got to take. Thank you.
Thank you. There is a large number of speakers. I'm not sure we'll get through them all. Yeah. Councillor Dorothy Maxwell, please. Yeah.
I think the Water Board do a great job. They come down to Denford on a regular visit because a lot of people go swimming in the river every morning at 6 o'clock. However, we are faced with people who do not want this. But I think it needs to continue. We need to encourage children to swim in the river. There is no pollution in Denford, or not to my knowledge, and I think that whatever they do is great. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Leanne Buckingham, please.
I think it's wonderful that the Conservative Party are seconding a motion, but it's a little bit of a shame that your colleagues in national government are cutting the budgets for the Canal and River Trust. Unfortunately, no Northamptonshire waterways are covered by the Canal and Rivers Trust, just the Grand Union. So maybe if we're really serious about this cross-party, you will go back to your colleagues that are currently holding government and ask them to maybe extend what's covered and make sure our Nina's protected.
Thank you. Councillor Tim Allibone, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Well, you would expect me as the only farmer here, or one of the very few farmers here, to come to the defence of agriculture. I think in the past we have been guilty of pollution. I think these days it's very, very different. Post-Brexit and post-CAP, Central Agricultural Policy, more and more farmers are being encouraged and are joining environmental schemes. I'm applying for one at the moment, and DEFRA in fact expect, or their aim is that some 75% of farmers in this country will be members of some environmental scheme within the next 5 years. Talking about environment schemes, because we're joining those, mainly it's using less or no agrochemicals, and it's using less fertiliser. In actual fact, we're using the same amounts of fertiliser, but we are placing it much more accurately. We, and I think a lot of other farmers, everybody has a different technique, we use the high-orbiting satellites that are about 170 miles up. They're photographing chlorophyll in the leaf, and the clever bit is manipulating that data onto an SD card. That goes in the tractor. It knows within 2 inches of where it is in the field, and it opens the shutters one side, it closes it the other. So we're placing fertiliser much more accurately. And also in mitigating pollution, for example, metaldehyde, which was used for slug pellets on oilseed rape crops. That was very toxic when it got in, but we have deflector plates on the spreader, and we never actually went within 20 metres of any watercourse. So, and also by getting rid of the agri-chemicals, which can cause pollution, we're sorting that out by selective breeding of different types of wheat and barley, so that they're disease tolerant. They don't need that much in the way of agrochemicals. I think water companies actually do far more harm, or at the moment they're doing far more harm with sewage pollution than farmers, who actually are playing their part in reducing runoff and protecting the environment. So I'm very happy to vote for this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Jan O'Hara, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm pleased to see this motion, and I'm glad that Councillor Pentland has seconded it. We do have some quite lively debates regarding the environment, and it's no secret that I quite enjoy being out on the rivers across the country. I think it's imperative actually that we take this a step further, that actually we go to the water companies and actually, instead of just the poultry fines that they get at the moment, I think it's something that we as the council could perhaps put to the government, that perhaps they should be looking at better fines that actually makes the water companies do what they should be doing and filter the water, not put it into our rivers, not put it into our seas, and allow us spaces to enjoy the environment, that it gives so many people so much pleasure, both physically and mentally. And I'm pleased to support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor John McGee, please.
Thank you, Chair. Keep wanting to press that button. Isn't it great? I actually agree with Councillor Brackenbury, and that doesn't happen often in this chamber, I can assure you. It's great to have cross-party, and the last one we had the three Lib Dems having their own debate over there too and put a motion forward. That was brilliant. And so it's good that we can all do it as all parties, even the Blue-Greens are getting this all together. That's fantastic to do. But it's a good motion. It's a good motion. And actually, I'm a bit surprised, given the national news that's been about for quite a few months about the state of pollution in our waters, that we're actually just starting to deal with this now. I thought the portfolio holder, as soon as that national stuff came out, would have been demanding the information on our rivers. But this is a great chance to get that debate going and get the figures. For all you colleagues that sit on the Waterways and Canals Committee, whatever it is, it'd be actually nice to get some sort of feedback that for other councillors, because you are representing the rest of the councillors here, haven't you? And some of the feedback I've had in the first few years is that Northamptonshire as a whole probably gets the least money spent on it. And that's a fact too. So, you know, we're sending people along to these meetings and we're not getting the money back to improve our waterways, our rivers and stuff. So we need to do more banging at their tables. So this is appropriate and we should be doing that now. And I'm sure we will all join together regardless of the colour of our parties and support this.
Thank you. Councillor Russell Roberts, please.
I wholeheartedly support this motion, but I just sound a warning note. If my memory serves me correctly, when I was at school in a history lesson, I was told that Benjamin Disraeli brought in a rule, a law or laws to clean up the rivers. So we must take this seriously, and the call to action and to lobby and to get this thing going and get behind it is absolutely vital. Don't just pass it and then forget it. It's got to be active and put into the lexicon of the actions that we're going to continue to do over the years. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Right, final comment from Councillor Pentland, please.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, colleagues, for your support on this. I'm very pleased to be working in collaboration with all of you to bring this forward, and I think it is important that we do collaborate on things like this. It brings it to the forefront in this council chamber, and it gives us all an opportunity to discuss matters which are clearly important. We've discussed this sort of matter many times at the Sustainable Communities EAP as well. Councillor Fedorovich highlighted some of the problems that are facing our waterways, and colleagues have highlighted as well how important it is that we take action to tackle these as Northamptonshire Council in the ways that we can. In terms of just summarising some of the comments that have been made by colleagues, as you members will be aware, we are working towards producing our local nature recovery strategy. As part of that, a central tenet will be our waterways and looking after those. And organisations like the Nen Rivers Trust are working incredibly hard day in, day out to make sure that we look after our waterways locally and have the focus on them that is needed. Colleagues have also highlighted the experiences they have with different organisations and some of the perhaps shortfalls that there have been in the past, but it's where we go from here, and that's what's really important. This motion did originally come in August, so it's good that we've had it back now and we can keep the focus on it. I know that officers within the council already look at a number of the points that are raised in the motion, but again, we're just bringing it to the forefront here today and giving it that opportunity to put the focus on it, which is good. And I'm no doubt that we will discuss it further at the Sustainable Communities EAP and in other forums as different policies, etc., come forward to make sure that we are looking after our waterways. So thank you, Chair, and I hope that members will support this, as it sounds like they may well do.
Okay. Thank you. We have no more speakers. Can I ask Councillor Fedorovich if you have any final comments to make?
Thank you. I think everything's really been covered. I think really from here, this is kind of just the start, really. This is to bring it to the fore. We know that this is a problem. I think we're all here and we're all ready for it, but I think I really hope as well that this can be the start, that we can take this to our MPs, that we can take this even further as well. As Councillor Roberts has rightly said, like this, we can't just sit on this as just reporting. Reporting's not good enough. We need to be able to have the funding. We need those fines. All of those actual things are going to actually make a difference. This is what we have within our very small remit, but we also have influence. I mentioned that right at the end. Our influence is probably the most powerful thing that we have. So this is reporting to come to us. This is reporting so that we can try and influence those, but they can only do as much as they have resource for. So that is where we need to go from here. So thank you very much for all of your support, all of your kind words. I'm very, very grateful. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. We will now move to the vote. Will you please use your electronic devices, please?
The vote is commencing. There are 10 seconds remaining. The vote has ended.
Chair, that is 60 votes in favour, 0 abstentions and 0 against.
Right, the vote is carried unanimously. Thank you. Right. We move to item 12 on the agenda, which is councillors' questions, and we have 2 which have been carried over from the previous meeting. There is then a further 9 submitted to this meeting. Question 1, may I please see Councillor Lynn Buckingham to ask her question.
Thank you. I do have a supplementary question, please. So in a time when every penny counts, could we collect the data on how much it's costing us in fly tipping? Is that correct?
Okay.
I don't think members heard. Could you repeat?
Sorry, could you repeat your question, please?
Sorry. In a time when every penny counts, could we please collect the data on how much fly tipping is costing us?
Okay, thank you. Councillor Matt Binley.
Thank you, Chair. As per the answer to the question, we know that it cost approximately £350,000 in the previous period. So we do collect data on it. It's just, for example, the data takes a while to collate every single year. And in fact, the information is also recorded centrally by government. They have just started collating those figures as of last year, and they are refining that information. Having had a meeting only this week with the Parliamentary Under-Secretary for Environmental Quality, I know that they are currently working on changing the data and how it's recorded, and they are refining it. So we can provide that information, but I would suggest it's something that you probably want to look at comparatively to other local authorities as well, and that information will be available.
Thank you. Question 2, again, can please see Councillor Lynn Buckingham.
Thank you, and I wish to thank Councillor Lloyd Bundy for his comprehensive pages of information given. I have no supplementary questions. Thank you.
Okay. May I please see Councillor Lloyd Bundy to provide the answer? Oh, sorry, you have already. Sorry. Oh, it's a long night. Okay, question 3. May I please see Councillor Emily Fedorovich to ask her question?
Oh, sorry, I've buggered that. Thank you. My question was, how much of the climate change budget has been sent? All right, sorry. Oh, hello. How much of the climate change budget has been spent to date? How much has been allocated to date? And how much has been spent on the 3 biggest projects? Or just my supplementary? Oh, okay, all right. So, yeah, I do want to thank Carrie Penland for the answer. That was very, very helpful. And my supplementary question was for, can we be assured that this 1 million will be spent at the end of the allotted period?
Okay, Councillor Pentland, please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Fedorovich, for your question. Really pleased with how this is going. I think actually a large proportion has been allocated, and I'd be pretty confident that we're going to get through all of the money that we've allocated quite quickly. It's coming fast, the projects, and we're pleased to be supporting them in the right ways.
Thank you. Move on to question 4. Councillor Fedorovich, do you have a supplementary question?
Yes, I'm just going to give slight context in my supplementary question for those who haven't read my question, but it's essentially about the climate emergency scorecard, of which we've been given a rating of 42%. I appreciate the response. However, we have now been rescored, and we are now at 22%, even with our new carbon management plan. So that is showing, the answer actually shows that the, bear with me, essentially, we're saying here that we're confident that we're going to have successful implementation of the carbon management plan, which we know we're not doing because we're falling behind on our actions and we don't have enough staff to fulfil them. And we are now being rated 22%. So my question is, how are we now going to rectify this situation and make sure that we have a clear roadmap?
Councillor Pentland.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you again, Councillor Fedorovich, for your question. So what has happened in terms of the score rating is that the organisation changed the way and the criteria against which they score councils. So councils up and down the country have seen their scores dramatically change from one year to the next. We're not unusual in that position at all. What I am confident in is the work that we are undertaking. We're not falling behind with the carbon management plan. We're providing regular updates on that to the Sustainable Communities EAP, as well as through the KPIs that come to the executive. And members can access those and see them to make sure that we are forging ahead with this. And I am pleased to see the various different projects that are coming forward as part of the carbon management plan. Obviously, with regard to this particular scoring, it will come around next year. I don't know whether the criteria will change again or not, but we'll be working hard to make sure that we're doing our absolute best here, and that's the focus that we've got. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Fedorovich, could you ask your third question? Oh, sorry, do you have a supplementary to your question?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Chair. So this was regarding the 170 inquiries with the new member system. My query, my supplementary, thank you, by the way, Councillor Smithers, for your response on this. My query, alongside the fact that we weren't actually consulted about this new system as a collective, but I have spoken to Adele about this and the issues and delays it's causing for both councillors and residents. So I want to know, how long is this system going to be used? Is there a light at the end of the tunnel, please?
Thank you, Councillor Fedorovich. The system will be used until we deem there's another system available. This system is currently, as we've said, bedding in. It's proving quite successful with quantities of queries that are coming through, and it's centralised what used to be not such a centralised system. So I think, you know, we will be monitoring this, and we appreciate members' patience whilst this system settles down. But the system is here for the foreseeable future.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Matt Keane, do you have a supplementary question?
Yeah, thank you for the answer. The supplementary question I had was the same as the member of the public asked, so that was duly noted. So thank you.
Okay. All right.
How quickly can you get the, when will you be issuing the poll cards?
Thank you, Councillor Keane. So, as I said earlier on, notices of petition, which are like poll cards, will be sent out on or around the 3rd of November. Thank you.
Question 7. Can I please ask Councillor Dell if he has a supplementary question?
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Councillor Bunday, for your response here. It's good to hear that we'll be able to get member briefing so we can understand the new system. My supplementary question is there already call login software in place with the new phone system, or is this like an additional expense that's going to come later? Because I'm sure I'm not alone in receiving complaints about the phone system and how people can get lost in it. Thank you.
Councillor Bunday.
Yes, I'd like to reassure Councillor Dell that it is part of the system that we've got. Those members who know me from my Kettering days know that I'm like a dog with a bone when it comes to telephone system reporting. And can I just say to every member here that a new telephone system on its own won't solve all the problems in the same way that one item on its own won't solve the problems. You can have a fabulous telephone system and it can still have one telephone over there that's ringing and nobody answering it. So there's lots of things that we need to do. And also, I'd say that the customer management system that we've also put in, those two together should solve the problem. And one of the things we do want to solve is finding where that phone is ringing and nobody's answering it.
Okay, thank you. Before we move on to question 8, we are approaching our cut-off time for the meeting. Is it your wish that we conclude the 4 questions left on the agenda? Okay. Can I see a show of hands for all those in favour to continue? Thank you.
Can I take one of those as a mover and a seconder?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Choose one.
I'll get it right. Okay, we'll move on to question 8. Can I please see Councillor Best to ask any supplementary question?
Thank you, Councillor Binley, for your response, and I have no supplementary questions.
Thank you. Moving swiftly on. Question 9. Can I please see Councillor Griffiths? Do you have a supplementary question?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thanks for the response from the leader. I did have a follow-up question, but as they say, a week is a long time in politics, especially in Northamptonshire. And in view of the last 48 hours, my follow-up question is now superfluous. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Question 10, Councillor Jim Hakewell, do you have a supplementary question?
Whoops, indeed I do. In particular, speaking about the diversity and inclusion training, why was it necessary to have 4 training sessions on the same subject during August, when as part of all members' inductions, we already had 2 equalities training sessions on Tuesday, the 6th of July, 2021?
Councillor Smithers?
Yes, thank you for your answer. Your question, your follow-up question, Councillor Howell. I just wanted to update on the 7th of August data there. We have got a slight error in there. On the 7th of August, 15 non-executive and 4 executive attended that particular meeting. But in answer to your question, I don't think you can have enough training. I think if you do the training and if this as a council is a good council going forward, as we are, we need to make sure everybody's skilled in what they do. Some people may choose to do training offline of the council. Some may choose to do council training. So the more training dates that go in, the better.
Okay. Thank you. And our final question, can I please see Councillor Hakewell if you have a supplementary question?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I take the answer as the first 3 paragraphs. The rest of it I didn't ask for. In a government publication, Lessons Learned, referring to Northamptonshire County Council, there is the following. The council declined offers of help from peers and was resistant to extensive efforts from sector membership bodies, especially the LGA, to wake members up to the reality of their situation. Only at the last minute did the Council accept formal peer challenge from the LGA. My question is, why, after 2.5 years, are we going down the same route as the County Council?
Councillor Smithers, do you wish to respond?
Yeah, absolutely, and thank you for your supplementary question, Councillor Hakewell. So, LGA peer reviews at the County Council. I think that's probably well and truly gone. I don't think it's really relevant today. However, I do understand you as an LGA peer, so that might have been an influencing decision to why we didn't want anyone in. But moving forward to this council, Councillor Hakewell, we have the Chief Exec and I that's gone on we had conversations with the LGA, and you know, we were looking to get an LGA process in place. If you look at our peer review in planning with the PAS review, that is you really don't need to record me, the cameras are on. But okay, all right, well, I hope it satisfies you. Anyway, so excuse me. Councillor Hakewell, when the time is right, we will have an LGA peer review at this authority. And as I say, the planning peer review has been an absolute success. It just shows that we are willing to listen to peer reviews and take that advice from experts, and we look forward to seeing some experts from the LGA coming in very soon. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you, councillors. That concludes councillors' questions.
Point of order.
What is your point? What is this point?
As a point of order, the culture of belittling me and my experience as a peer councillor just reflects that nationally and locally, this group absolutely belittles everybody and everything that other people do. And I think it really is a bad culture, and I hope we do
Councillor,
address
point
it.
of order, you have to refer to a point in the Constitution. Thank you.
Okay. I think it's a bit rich. Right. Thank you, councillors. That concludes councillors' questions. Last item on the agenda, item on the agenda, urgent items. There are no urgent business to discuss on this occasion. So final item is to close the meeting. Thank you for your comments and for allowing us to conclude all the business before us in a timely fashion. I now declare the meeting closed.
Well done.